Proton Pack is not a toy.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Proton Pack is Not a Toy. My name is Matt, and this is episode 10 of the Venkman conversion, where by now you should know that I am spending my time changing my Proton Pack to look more like the Ghostbusters 2 version of the Venkman Hero Pack. And finally, I received one of the pieces that I bought a couple of months ago that is really going to finish off the pack. I've got a few videos left to do after this one, but this is a part I've been waiting for, like I said, for a couple of months. I ordered it from GB Fans, and it was one of those that had to be specially ordered ahead of time and made, and it is this aluminum HGA. And you may be wondering, you have an HGA, why do you need another one? And the answer is in the holes here. The one that I ordered specifically to look like the Spengler HGA. And what's particular about that one is the two elbows here are offset, with the Clippard elbow being slightly higher on the front of the HGA than the Legree elbow. If you look at the Venkman, they are basically exactly in line with each other. So I ordered mine to be in line in such a way. I've already taken off one of the Legree elbows from on the other side of the pack over there and test fit it into its hole, as well as the Clippard into its hole. And both of them fit. They need a little tightening down encouragement with a wrench, but no problem with that. And while I'm wearing my Clippard shirt, there's another little detail or two that I have planned to adjust on this pack, and that has to do with the hose barbs that come out, some of them that come out of the Clippard elbows, while a couple of them are also on the particle thrower, on the green tubing. And I bought a whole pack of 10 of these short barb ones that I heard them talking about on the Black Firehouse podcast. They were saying, hey, if you get the 11752-3s, those are going to be more accurate. They had these smaller barbs, and those would work better for an accurate hero pack. Turns out that's one of the things that is not consistent amongst all of the packs. And I did go back, and before I decided to make these changes, I wanted to double check the reference photos that I have, and collaborated with a few people, including Austin Young there from the podcast, and we were talking about which ones were long, which ones are short. And what it appears to be is a lot of the adjustments that were made to the packs for Ghostbusters 2. So the Venkman Hero, where the Clippard elbow was taken off of the ion arm and put on off the end cap and put on the arm itself. It went from having a square fitting there to the hexagonal fitting. And the one that was connected to it is going to be one of these shorter barbs. Whereas the HGA and down here on the beam line, it looks to be the longer ones. And again, you've already seen me change out the resistor here and put the shorter one on there. So that one appears to be correct. I need to change this to a shorter one, and I'm going to leave the longer ones on these two, as well as the two on the green tubing on the thrower. So I got a whole pack of 10, and I think I'm only going to use a couple of them. I borrowed the small one here from one of the packages from my Max Factory stuff, so I'll put one back in there. I'll use this one here, and then I'll have a whole lot of extras that I can use down the line, and have those available to me. Now, how much of a difference do they make? How big is one compared to the other? So the larger one, the one that you probably have on your pack if you've built before, or if you've bought yours from GB Fans or from GB HQ Parts Depot, something like that, The full length is 7/8 or thereabouts, maybe a hair under that, maybe, let's see, is that 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 13/16 for that, and then the actual uh, hexagonal part where you would tighten it down is only 3/16. Compare that to the smaller one where the hexagonal part is only 2/16 or 1/8 of an inch, and then the full length of it is 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, maybe 11/16 on that one. So not a ton of difference, and if this is one of the little details you want to pass by because there is not a whole lot difference, then I wouldn't blame you. But if you're building I did see that the superhero has a lot of the smaller ones, and then the semi-hero packs have a lot of the smaller ones as well. So considering that, look at your reference photos, see what they are. Now that you have the knowledge that you need to look at them to see if one's bigger or smaller, you can kind of tell the difference just having the option of looking at one that you know is long on a certain pack and then compare the pictures side by side, and you can see pretty easily if one's the short version. Part of this video is going to involve me painting this and having it put back on the pack. It's been a warm summer, probably where you live too, and I live in Texas, and we are almost up to 50 days this summer where I live that have been 100 degrees or more for our daily high temperature. And I think today is supposed to top out around 90, which is, for August, is like, it's awesome. So with the humidity where it is, I might actually be able to actually paint this today, which is almost a miracle in itself. But I do have a couple of parts here. I'm probably going to take off the beam line and filler tube and paint those as well, probably sand those down and paint them as well. I'm going to use this Rust-Oleum Canyon Black Satin spray paint and go over those. It's a paint and primer. These two parts over here I've always felt were a little bit too glossy, and so it's a good time for me to sand those down and paint it while I've got paint out for the HGA as well. So let me take this off and I'll show you the reason that I am replacing that elbow. As you'll be able to see, there is a hole here, and you can see my shirt all the way through it because there is a hole on the other side. This is a T-fitting, and the Spengler Hero has a T-fitting on the beam line, whereas the Venkman, as well as most of, not all of the other ones, has the normal fitting where it just comes out the one side. So to be accurate, what I need to do is to take the longer barb and put it in there. Now looking at the reference photos, you can't get a clear shot of the beamline Clippard elbow, at least where the barb sticks out, to see if it's the longer or the short one. But if you look at the stance and you look at the Spengler, there is kind of a way on both of them to see that it's the longer version. So I felt that the Venkman is probably consistent with that, as though, I mean, it's not 100%, but I'm comfortable putting the longer one there because on the HGA, you can kind of peek through the loom on the Venkman and see that it is the longer of the two on that one. So to me, it would be a little odd for those to both be original Ghostbusters 1 fittings for one to be different from the other in that one. So I will go with the longer on the HGA and the beam line. Hey everybody, I'm back from getting everything painted Got my HGA, went ahead and put the elbows on there. Same with the beam line, filler tube. Also decided to do the back line as a last minute addition, just to kind of show you the way I did it. I like to have them all kind of mounted to a cardboard box, just happened to be a cereal box this time, so that way I can turn them if I need to, just to get one spot individually without having to turn the actual part, and then that way they can dry easily that way as well. I like to tape off the spots that are threaded, so that way I don't have to work my way back through that paint when it's time to put the elbows back in. So that's why you see a little bit of painter's tape in the threaded parts. And then I taped off the socket head cap screws on the HGA. I just unscrewed them a little bit, put some painter's tape on there. Then once it was dry, screw those back down in there. So that's my method of working my way through it. You may have your own way. That's the way I like to do it. If you're wondering why they call it a T-fitting, this is why. You can put one on the opposite side, makes a T shape. That's not the way it was on the pack. It just had the one with the open spot. But I'm going to save this for my spindler with one of the longer barbs on it. And then I'll use this one that actually came off of a different part for one of the ones that's going on here. Actually, I'll just go ahead and throw it here on the beam line. And I've tightened this down as far as it would go. Same with the ones on here. This one would actually go about half a turn farther, but then the hole isn't lined up where it's supposed to be. And I can't get it farther than that without damaging the part. So I'm going to leave that a little bit loose. If I need to give it a little bit of glue to hold it in place, that's a possibility down the line. So I need to put these back on the pack now. I also need to take off the current HGA that is on the pack. So I will start by that, by taking it off. So let me set that down just for a second, because I do still have it connected. There. Again, I used tape on that end because I used Legree elbows that were a little bit wider than the actual screen used ones. But you've seen that already in a different video if you've already watched these. So that's the way the one that I had on there was set up on the back. The new one just has the one hole in the center. There we go. That one's mounted. For the beam line, I have to make sure I have it oriented the right way. For the barb, to face the right direction. I know you probably can't see this real well with that back tube. There we go. So I'm going to need some screwdriver assistance. Okay. There is the beamline. Next, I'm going to put on the vac tube. I had forgotten when I took off the vac tube, it was one of the ones that was held on by some of these longer ones. Like I said, that doesn't have the threaded part, and it was mounted through the hole from the front because it was very thick here in the shell in this area, and it doesn't go all the way through from the back to the front. So this is the only one that I have on my shell that was technically mounted backwards. So might as well go ahead and use one of those big ones that I really don't have a use for elsewhere. It also comes in handy that it does, since it sticks out a little bit, it helps to hold this loom in there as well. That one's in place. The last one I need to add is the filler tube to the side over here. I used a different kind of bolt on this one because the space where it fits on the shell is where it is very close up against the motherboard right here, and I think that would stick out a little bit too far when I used socket head cap screws. So I use these pan head ones instead. All right, so all of those are now installed. While I'm at it, I'm going to take the Legree elbow off of the HGA that came off the pack. And I'm going to replace one down here that I borrowed earlier. Okay, so that's tight. Taped in there. I'm going to go back and make sure that I have my wires all oriented in the right direction. Which one overlaps which. I'll go back and look at my reference photos and get that right. But for now, I'm just trying to put them on there. And so all of that can be rerouted. I have Slimer riding on my split loom. It goes on there. And he will continue to ride on that for now. The actual tubing that is underneath is blue. When you look at the pictures, I have red in here. One that I have some blue left over, but none of it is long enough to make the distance I need to connect those two. What I could do is cut it in half and then run kind of towards the middle and then either tape in a different color or just use tape to connect the two. That way it's enough to go all the way through the split loom. That way I can still have some blue peeking out from either end if it does start to come out. That might be something that I do on my own time again later. So I'm going to decide, Again, I can't remember which way it goes. It's kind of nice to have this a little bit loose so I can angle it where I need it to go. And then once it's connected to the beam line, then it's not going to travel too much further. If you ever have an issue of the inner tubing sticking out too far, just trim off a tiny bit of it so that you've got overlap from the split loom, and that'll keep it from peeking out at the connection points too much. There. With those two done, now I just need to change the barb here on the elbow on the ion arm. So if I can just unscrew that one maybe without having to take off the whole barb, that might be the best course of action. This is the one, there it goes, where I'm taking off the larger, longer barb and putting on the smaller one. Match the reference photos. I have new ones that I put on these two, so what I'm actually going to do is take this one off and replace it with one of the new ones. I bought a pack of 5 for like $5 shipped on eBay. I was happy with that because they're like $4 or $5 a piece on GB Fans. So this one's a little weathered on purpose, but if I'm going to have shiny new ones on those two locations, let's go ahead and keep a full set that are basically the same age. All right, so find the hole. There we go. Facing that direction. Put the tube back on. Bingo. All right, that about does it for this episode. As you can see, pretty much got everything done. The only thing I don't have is a label for the HGA over here, and that is something that I'm going to add in a future video because I bought a full set of Max Factory labels that I'm going to use to completely overhaul all the labels here on my pack. Part of it is because some of them are more accurate than I want to have on here. I need to move some of them because of their placement too, to line up with the reference photos as well. So I'm going to be picky about that, and it just made sense to go ahead and get a full set. I got a set of dry rub transfers as well that I've never had before on my pack, and it'll be cool to finally have that to be an accurate detail as well, not just for the pack but for the particle thrower. And so that's one of the future videos coming up. I do have some changes that I'm going to make to the particle thrower that I haven't done to this point. That'll be a future video, and then beyond that, I'm kind of at a point where maybe some weathering or something like that comes along, but I'm not running out of ideas, but I'm kind of getting towards the end of the line here on the conversion. So if you've made it this far, you're paying attention, you know what I've been doing up to this point. Take a look on the Ghostbusters reference library on the Venkman. It's listed under Ghostbusters, not Ghostbusters 2, the Venkman Hero. And look at some of those reference photos And I want you guys to help me see maybe some of the things that I may have missed or left out up to this point. I know there are a few that aren't on my list that I could be doing that I've chosen not to include to this point. But if you're paying attention and you're into this kind of thing, you might be able to pick out something that I haven't noticed. And if it's something that it's a part that's easy to acquire, or a change that's easy to make, or even if it's not easy, if it's something that needs to be done, then I'm open to it. And just let me know. And you can comment here on the video, or you can email me, or send me a message on Twitter or Instagram. All of the links on the ways to reach me are in the description of each video. We're at the tail end of it. So again, thank you guys for watching, and I hope you have a great day. We'll see you in the next one in episode 11. Bye.